In the sprawling expanse of the Ganymedian wilderness, where the jagged peaks kissed the cayenne skies and the air buzzed with the chirping of alien fauna, Teo Ramirez, a seasoned courier, navigated his rugged hoverbike through the rough terrain. His job was simple yet perilous: deliver packages across the remote colonies of Jupiter's moons, where no other courier dared to venture. Teo's reputation was built on his unyielding determination and his ability to deliver any package, no matter how dangerous the path or how mysterious the cargo. However, today's delivery was unusual even by his standards. The manifest only listed the package as biological material, handle with care, a vague description that did nothing to quell his curiosity. As he approached the drop-off point, a small, nondescript research facility nestled between two towering cliffs, his communicator beeped with an incoming message. It was an urgent addendum to his delivery instructions, instructing him to ensure that the package was handed directly to Dr. Ilara Miles, the head of xenobiology at the facility. Upon arrival, Teo was greeted not by the stern, business-like faces he was used to, but by a chaotic scene. Researchers and security personnel were bustling about, their faces etched with a mixture of urgency and concern. Dr. Miles, a tall woman with striking silver hair and piercing blue eyes, approached him as he dismounted. "Mr. Ramirez, thank you for getting here swiftly," she said, her voice tinged with an unmistakable accent of authority mixed with relief. "I trust the package is secure?" "Always is," Teo replied, nodding toward the large, thermally insulated container strapped to the back of his bike. Dr. Miles wasted no time, guiding him through the facility to a secure laboratory. Once inside, she keyed in a code, and the container automatically unlocked, hissing as it opened to reveal its contents. To Teo's astonishment, inside were three tiny creatures, each no bigger than his hand, their delicate wings shimmering in the lab's artificial light. "They're the last of their kind from Callisto's southern ice fields," Dr. Miles explained softly, her eyes reflecting a deep personal concern. "Their ecosystem was destroyed by a rogue terraforming project, and these little ones were left behind. We couldn't get to them in time, not for all, but these survived, thanks to you." Teo, usually unfazed by the harsh realities of his trade, felt a tug at his heartstrings. He was used to delivering inanimate objects, or at best encrypted data that held secrets of the cosmos. Never before had he been the courier of life itself, let alone life so fragile and significant. Dr. Miles continued, "We need to keep them here, simulate their natural habitat, and hopefully reintroduce them back once we stabilize the situation. Your job, Mr. Ramirez, has just begun." Surprised, Teo raised an eyebrow. Teo's life swiftly rearranged itself around his new charges. Every day brought a new challenge, from tweaking the hoverbike to include a climate-controlled transport pod, to studying the delicate balance of nutrients the creatures needed. He named them Flicks, Picks, and Tricks after their playful antics, which never failed to amuse him during the long rides between facilities. As he crisscrossed the moons of Jupiter, Teo became acutely aware of the precarious state of the outer colony's ecosystems. Each research station brought new revelations about the intricate connections between native species and their environments, connections that had been disrupted by human interference. One mission took him to Europa, where underwater vents housed communities as vibrant and diverse as any terrestrial coral reef. Dr. Zarabati, a marine biologist at Europa's subsurface ocean lab, needed samples of the creature's bioluminescent enzymes. The enzymes, it seemed, had properties that could help restore the balance in Europa's dark waters, which had begun to show signs of stress from over-extraction of resources. "Teo, these creatures might seem small, but they hold the key to understanding larger cosmic interactions," Dr. Bhatti explained as she carefully extracted the necessary fluids. Her lab was a cavernous room lit by the soft glow of bioluminescent organisms, casting eerie, dancing shadows on the walls. Navigating his way next to Io, Teo encountered the harsh realities of sulfuric volcanic activity. The research outpost here, led by a gruff geologist named Dr. Rickard Grain, was studying how extremophiles adapted to such hostile environments. The insights from Flicks, Picks, and Tricks could help develop bioengineering solutions to reclaim and stabilize areas ravaged by volcanic eruptions. Each stop added layers of complexity to Teo's understanding of his role. He was no longer just a courier. He was a connector of worlds, a bridge between isolated pockets of research, striving to mend the shattered ecosystems of humanity's new frontiers. On Callisto, the situation was even more dire. Dr. Miles had set up a temporary research camp in the remnants of the southern ice fields. Here, Teo saw firsthand the devastation that had prompted the urgent rescue of his fluttering companions. Massive ice melts had flooded vast areas, wiping out entire colonies of indigenous life forms. "We're not just saving these creatures, Teo," Dr. Miles told him, as they stood overlooking a vast, waterlogged valley that had once been a thriving ecosystem. "We're trying to prevent a cascade of extinctions. What we learned from flicks, picks, and tricks could help us engineer a recovery not just here, but potentially across the galaxy." Her words weighed heavily on Teo as he returned to his quarters each night, the stars a constant reminder of the vastness of his responsibility. Yet, with each successful mission, he felt a growing sense of accomplishment and purpose. His once solitary existence had expanded to include a network of scientists, researchers, and most importantly, his 3 tiny wards who depended on him not just for survival, but for the future of their species. Teo's relationship with the creatures evolved rapidly. He learned to interpret their subtle cues and behaviors, adjusting the environment within the transport pod to suit their moods and health. As their bond deepened, so did his connection to the cause, transforming his daily routines into a series of meticulous caretaking rituals intertwined with high-stakes deliveries. On a routine visit to Ganymede's Genetic Archive Center, an encounter with Dr. Lena Kim, a geneticist specializing in de-extinction, added another layer to Teo's mission. Dr. Kim was fascinated by the genetic resilience of flicks, picks, and tricks, particularly their ability to adapt to various environmental stressors, a trait lost in many terrestrial species centuries ago. "Teo, these creatures hold genetic keys that could unlock restoration technologies for Earth's own battered ecosystems," Dr. Kim explained as she ran her scans. "Their DNA is like a blueprint of evolutionary success stories, some of which we thought were lost forever." The lab was a high-tech vault of biodiversity, with genetic samples from thousands of species stored in cryogenic chambers. As Teo watched Dr. Kim work, he couldn't help but feel like he was standing at the crossroads of time, carrying the past into the future. His next task led him to the bustling research hub on Titan, where atmospheric scientists studied the thick, nitrogen-rich clouds. Dr. Emil Sato, an expert in atmospheric phenomena, believed that the creature's ability to emit light could be linked to atmospheric biofluorescence, a phenomenon crucial to understanding Titan's enigmatic weather patterns. "Imagine, Teo, if we could engineer microorganisms that could thrive in Titan's lakes, perhaps even stabilize them," Dr. Sato pondered, peering through his spectroscope. "Your little friends might just inspire a breakthrough." With each interaction, Teo grew more aware of the critical role these creatures played in a broader scientific tapestry. His cargo was no longer just biological material. It was a catalyst for innovation and hope across the solar system. As Teo's expertise in xenobiology inadvertently expanded, so did his reputation. Researchers from distant outposts began requesting his services, knowing that his commitment to his cargo went far beyond contractual obligations. With flicks, picks, and tricks by his side, he ventured into uncharted territories, each mission contributing to a larger narrative of interspecies cooperation and planetary rehabilitation. Amidst the backdrop of space's silent vastness, Teo's work had woven him into the fabric of an interplanetary endeavor. As the missions grew more complex, his understanding of the ecosystems and the delicate dependencies among celestial bodies deepened, transforming him into an integral part of the research community's efforts to harness science for sustainability. During one of his regular trips to a remote outpost on Enceladus, Teo encountered Dr. Fiona Meir, an ecologist studying the subsurface oceans and their potential for supporting life. The outpost, buried deep under the icy crust, was a hub of activity as scientists probed the secrets held by the alien waters. "Teo, these creatures might help us understand how life could thrive under such extreme conditions," Dr. Meir explained, her voice echoing slightly in the icy tunnel that led to their lab. Their adaptability could mean the difference between life and barrenness in environments like this. Her team was particularly interested in how the biochemistry of flicks, picks, and tricks interacted with the extreme cold and high-pressure environment. By understanding these interactions, they hoped to develop bioengineered solutions that could make extraterrestrial farming viable, offering a food source for future colonies. The importance of Teo's role was never clearer than when an emergency alert summoned him to the surface. A sudden shift in the ice had damaged part of the outpost, threatening the station with potential collapse. Teo, alongside his trio of companions, facilitated the delivery of structural stabilizers, a critical component that would reinforce the integrity of the ice above the labs. In the heart of Mars's terraforming headquarters, Teo's next mission involved assisting with an experimental project aimed at enhancing atmospheric conversion processes. The team there, led by an old friend, Dr. Larson Choi, was experimenting with introducing genetically modified organisms capable of surviving Mars' harsh conditions, inspired by the resilience of Teo's charges. "Larson, how do these experiments relate to what we've learned from the creatures?" Teo asked as they watched a simulation of Mars's atmosphere slowly becoming more hospitable. "It's all about adaptation and survival, Teo." The deeper Teo delved into the complexities of his mission, the more he became a linchpin in the network of interplanetary ecological restoration. His routine now intricately involved not only the physical transportation of his tiny charges, but also an emotional investment in their role across diverse ecosystems. Each delivery was a critical note in the grand symphony of scientific endeavor, each stop contributing to a harmonious attempt at reviving and sustaining life across the solar system. On one of his travels to Venus's newly established high-altitude life viability lab, nestled within the dense acidic clouds, Teo met with Dr. Eva Cortez, a pioneer in aerial biosphere habitats. Here, amidst floating research platforms, scientists were experimenting with creating sustainable environments within blimps that floated above the hostile surface of Venus. "Teo, the bioluminescent and thermoregulatory properties of your companions might help us engineer organisms that can survive in these extreme conditions," Dr. Cortez explained as she observed the creatures interacting within a specially designed habitat chamber. "Their survival mechanisms are incredibly sophisticated." As Dr. Cortez and her team closely monitored the creatures' responses to various atmospheric pressures and chemical compositions, Teo was struck by the possibility that the same traits allowing flicks, picks, and tricks to thrive in the harsh environments of Jupiter's moons could also facilitate the colonization of Venus's upper atmosphere. His next venture led him to a secretive base on Mercury, where temperatures swung wildly between extremes. Here, a group of biotechnologists were working on creating heat-resistant crops that could one day feed the growing populations on the hotter planets. The enzymes produced by flicks, picks, and tricks showed potential in enhancing the thermal tolerance of these plants. By integrating these enzymes into our crop genomes, we might be able to cultivate fields under the Mercurian sun, said Dr. Hiro Tanaka, the project leader, as he showed Teo the progress they had made. "Imagine fields that could withstand the intense solar radiation without withering." Each mission seemed to peel back another layer of the universe's mysteries, revealing how interconnected life truly was, even among the stars. The potential of flicks, picks, and tricks to influence the adaptation and survival of other life forms extended beyond the scientific community's original predictions, making Teo's role increasingly central to the broader ambitions of space colonization. As he traveled from one planet to another, Teo witnessed the blooming of artificial ecosystems, each a testament to human ingenuity and the vital role of his cargo in these efforts. The impact of his work was visible not only in the thriving research outposts, but also in the slowly changing landscapes of these celestial bodies. Navigating through the asteroid belt to a small research facility on Ceres, Teolo learned of a new challenge. The facility was studying the potential of using bioengineered organisms in asteroid mining processes to extract valuable minerals without the destructive side effects of traditional methods. The insights gained from the creature's ability to adapt to extreme environments were invaluable. "Your deliveries, Teo, they're not just bringing us samples or tools," remarked Dr. Emily Zhao, head of the Ceres project. You're bringing us the future. Teo's routine had evolved into a complex dance with the cosmos, each step choreographed by necessity and driven by a shared vision of interstellar restoration. His missions, once simple deliveries, had become crucial exchanges of knowledge and life, weaving a tapestry of interconnected survival strategies across the solar system. As he prepared for his next assignment, a conference on Lunar Base Alpha, Teo reflected on the transformative journey of flicks, picks, and tricks. They were no longer just specimens. They had become ambassadors of their extinct ecosystem, their very existence inspiring a myriad of projects aimed at ecological rehabilitation and extraterrestrial farming. The conference was a gathering of the solar system's leading scientists and policymakers, convened to discuss the future of interplanetary colonization and the role of biotechnology in sustaining life on new worlds. Teo, invited to speak on the logistics of transporting sensitive biological materials, found himself among a crowd eager to hear about his experiences. As he addressed the assembly, Teo shared his unique perspective, recounting the missions to Venus, Mercury, and beyond. He talked about the crucial insights provided by his tiny companions and how their resilience had led to groundbreaking advancements in bioengineering and ecosystem management. Each creature, each organism we managed to save and study holds lessons for us, Teo told the gathered experts. They teach us about survival and adaptation, about the fragile threads that connect all life forms, no matter how vast the distances that separate them. His speech was met with resounding applause, a recognition not just of his own contributions, but of the broader implications of their collective work. The conference ended with a declaration of increased funding and support for biotechnological research, a direct result of the success stories Teo had helped write across the stars. Returning to his quarters on the moon, Teo felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He knew the path ahead would still hold challenges, but the strides made so far offered a hopeful glimpse into the future. Months later, as Teo prepared for yet another mission, this time to help establish a new research facility on the terraformed Mars, he received an urgent communication from Dr. Miles. She informed him that flicks, picks, and tricks were to be the foundational species for a new conservation project, a living library of extraterrestrial life forms aimed at preserving and studying the biodiversity of the solar system. "This isn't an ending, Teo. It's a beginning," Dr. Miles's voice crackled over the communicator. "Their legacy will light the way for future generations, teaching us how to coexist with the environments we aspire to call home." Teo looked at his three companions, their bodies glowing softly in the dim light of the hoverbike's cockpit, a visible reminder of the light